Number 1. Dolphin ranking. Dolphins are the second smartest animals on Earth. Elementary biology textbooks from 1975 through 2008 stated it as fact. Marine park educational materials presented dolphins on intelligence hierarchies, topped only by humans. The claim has shaped public perception for over 4 decades, but no scientifically valid cross-species intelligence ranking exists. Modern comparative cognition research has rejected the entire concept of linear intelligence scales. The hierarchy seemed scientifically grounded. Neuroscientists in the 1960s and 1970s calculated encephalization quotients, brain-to-body mass ratios, and produced numerical rankings. Dr. Harry Jerrison's 1973 book, Evolution of the Brain and Intelligence, popularized the EQ metric, placing dolphins second behind humans. Comparative psychology textbooks from 1975 through 2001 reproduced these rankings in tables and charts. The American Association of Zoological Parks and Aquariums adopted the hierarchy in 1978 educational standards, stating, "Dolphins possess intelligence second only to humans as measured by brain development indices." Marine parks worldwide built educational programming around this numerical ranking. The framework appeared objective, quantified brain measurements, producing definitive rankings that seemed immune to subjective interpretation. This belief has a specific starting point. Understanding why it lasted matters more. The EQ metric originated from studies comparing mammalian brain evolution across vastly different ecological niches. Researchers measured raw brain mass against body mass, assuming larger brains relative to body size indicated superior general intelligence. The calculation treated intelligence as a single quantifiable trait, but commercial interests reinforced the narrative aggressively. Marine entertainment parks generated $2.8 billion in US revenue by 1990. When comparative cognition researchers in the late 1980s began challenging the validity of cross-species intelligence rankings, the findings circulated only in academic journals like Behavioral and Brain Sciences. SeaWorld's educational materials continued displaying intelligence pyramids through 2012. The Association of Zoos and Aquariums revised its marine mammal education standards in 2016, recognizing domain-specific cognition rather than hierarchical rankings. But the revision took 28 years to reflect emerging research consensus from the late 1980s. As of 2023, marine biology curricula in 18 US states still reference dolphins as second most intelligent. Here's what the actual research shows. Dr. Sarah Shuttleworth at the University of Toronto published systematic critiques in 1998, demonstrating that intelligence cannot be reduced to a single scale. Species excel in domain-specific tasks shaped by evolutionary pressures. Dolphins navigate complex social hierarchies and echolocate prey with extraordinary precision, but struggle with tasks octopuses solve easily. Dr. Louis Lefebvre at McGill University demonstrated in 2004 that corvid birds outperform dolphins on innovation tasks, while dolphins excel at social learning tasks where corvids struggle. Comparative cognition researchers now reject the concept of linear intelligence rankings entirely. Yet marine park educational displays continued using hierarchical models through 2018. Dolphins are among the most intelligent animals, but they aren't officially ranked as the second smartest because science doesn't assign fixed intelligence rankings to animals. The research exists. The systems haven't updated. This matters because millions of students learn comparative cognition through frameworks that neuroscience abandoned 35 years ago. When educational standards operate on 1970s brain mass calculations rather than domain-specific cognition models, we're teaching children that intelligence is a single measurable trait. And this same pattern of outdated testing methods producing persistent myths is exactly what happened with myth number 2. But that methodological limitation is nothing compared to what behavioral researchers have been documenting for a century. Number 2. Chimp planning. Chimpanzees cannot plan for future needs. They're locked in the present moment, responding only to immediate stimuli. Introductory psychology textbooks from 1960 through 2003 stated it as distinguishing humans from all other animals. Primate behavior courses taught it as fundamental cognitive limitation. The claim positioned human future-oriented thinking as evolutionarily unique, but chimpanzees demonstrate sophisticated future planning across multiple contexts. Observational and experimental evidence spanning decades has documented this capacity. The conclusion appeared methodologically sound. Behaviorist psychologists in the 1950s and early 1960s designed experiments testing whether chimpanzees would select tools or food for future use. Early studies by researchers at Yerkes Primate Center offered chimpanzees choices between immediate food rewards and tools usable only hours later. Most subjects chose immediate food. The experimental design seemed to isolate future-oriented future-oriented cognition. Comparative psychology textbooks from 1962 through 1998 cited these findings as demonstrating present-focused cognition in non-human primates. The American Psychological Association's 1965 Guidelines on Animal Cognition stated, "Evidence suggests primates lack capacity for mental time travel, anticipating future states distinct from present drives." The behaviorist framework dominated for decades, and these controlled experiments appeared to confirm human cognitive uniqueness. So, where did this myth originate, and why did it persist despite contradicting evidence? The claim emerged from experimental designs that tested only one narrow type of planning, selecting tools for delayed use, while ignoring field observations of wild chimpanzee behavior documented since the 1920s. The artificial laboratory tasks bore little resemblance to ecological contexts where planning naturally occurs. Publication barriers created significant gaps. When Dr. Wolfgang Köhler observed chimpanzees stacking boxes and combining tools to reach food as early as 1917, demonstrating clear multi-step planning, his work remained confined to specialized primatology literature. Dr. Sue Savage-Rumbaug's 1990s research with Kanzi, showing chimpanzees planning routes to hidden food locations, appeared in journals like Journal of Comparative Psychology, never reaching undergraduate textbooks. Behavioral psychology curricula at major universities continued teaching present-focused primate cognition through 2004. The College Board's AP Psychology curriculum revised its section on animal cognition in 2015, recognizing future planning in great apes, a lag of more than 20 years from widespread research documentation in the 1990s. As of 2024, introductory psychology textbooks from 3 major publishers still frame future planning as uniquely human. Here's what the actual research shows. Dr. Nikki Clayton at the University of Cambridge demonstrated in 2006 that chimpanzees at Leipzig Zoo selected and transported tools to locations they would visit the following day. Clear evidence of planning for future needs, disconnected from present motivation. Dr. Nicholas Mulcahy and Dr. Josep Call published findings in 2006 showing chimpanzees selected appropriate tools for tasks they would perform 14 hours later, refuting present-focused cognition claims. Dr. Matthias Osvath at Lund University documented in 2009 that a male chimpanzee named Santino stockpiled stones in the morning to throw at zoo visitors in the afternoon. Premeditated behavior, planned hours in advance. Primatologists now recognize future planning as widespread among great apes. Yet the University of Texas Psychology Department taught the present-focused model until 2011. This evidence has been peer-reviewed and publicly available for decades. This matters because undergraduate psychology curricula teach 200,000 US students annually that humans alone possess future-oriented cognition, perpetuating a claim contradicted by research since 1917. When curriculum revision cycles lag 2 decades behind published findings, we're training future educators with outdated models of primate cognition. And this same pattern of early brain structure studies producing lasting misconceptions is exactly what happened with myth number 3. But that anatomical assumption created a stigma that persists across an entire taxonomic class. Number 3. Bird brains. Birds are unintelligent. Bird-brained is synonymous with stupidity. The phrase appears in dictionaries, casual conversation, and elementary science materials. Comparative anatomy textbooks from 1950 through 1995 explained that birds lack the neocortex responsible for higher cognition in mammals. The claim has justified dismissing avian cognitive abilities for over 70 years. But corvids demonstrate problem-solving abilities rivaling great primates. Brain structure does not determine cognitive capacity the way early anatomists assumed. The reasoning seemed anatomically definitive. Comparative neuroanatomists in the 1930s and 1940s mapped vertebrate brain structures and concluded that the 6-layered mammalian neocortex, absent in birds, was essential for complex cognition. Dr. Ludwig Edinger's influential brain evolution model, widely taught through the 1960s, characterized bird brains as primitive and incapable of flexible behavior. Biology textbooks from 1948 through 1993 included diagrams contrasting the advanced mammalian neocortex with the simple avian brain, explicitly stating birds lacked neurological substrate for intelligence. The Society for Neuroscience's 1971 educational materials described avian behavior as largely instinctual due to limited cortical development. The anatomical evidence appeared conclusive. Without a neocortex, birds couldn't possess mammal-level cognition. The roots of this myth go deep. The forces that protected it go deeper. The dismissal originated from early 20th century comparative anatomy that prioritized structure over function. Researchers assumed mammalian mammalian brain architecture was the only pathway to complex cognition, ignoring behavioral evidence from birds. Curriculum inertia compounded the problem. University comparative anatomy courses built around Edinger's model had entrenched the framework by 1950. When researchers began documenting sophisticated corvid tool use in the 1960s and 1970s, the findings appeared in ornithology journals but never penetrated mainstream neuroscience or psychology textbooks. The 2005 Avian Brain Nomenclature Consortium formally renamed bird brain structures, recognizing that the nidopallium serves functions analogous to the mammalian neocortex, but textbook revisions lagged by over a decade. As of 2022, high school biology textbooks from two major publishers still describe bird brains as simpler than mammalian brains without acknowledging functional equivalence. Here's what the actual research shows. Dr. Alex Koszelnik at the University of Oxford documented in 2002 that New Caledonian crows spontaneously fabricate hooked tools from novel materials, a cognitive feat requiring causal reasoning. Dr. Nicola Clayton's work at Cambridge University demonstrated in 2007 that scrub jays plan for future needs by caching food in locations they'll visit later, then employ deceptive strategies if observed, indicating theory of mind. The 2005 Avian Brain Nomenclature Consortium confirmed that the avian nidopallium contains neuron densities exceeding mammalian cortex in some species. Comparative cognition researchers now recognize that brain structure diversity produces equivalent cognitive outcomes through different neural architectures. This matters because an entire class of 10,000 bird species has been cognitively underestimated based on anatomical assumptions disproven nearly 20 years ago. Neuroscience established functional equivalence in 2005, yet educational materials perpetuate structural bias through 2022, a 17-year gap. How many other taxonomic groups are we dismissing using 1940s neuroanatomy? When comparative cognition operates on mammal-centric brain models rather than functional analysis, we're teaching students that one neural architecture defines intelligence, ignoring convergent cognitive evolution across fundamentally different brain structures.